find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nuoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. And Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to the final Tier 2 race of Season 12 here in PRL. It's been a ride. It's been an exciting old season. We've already got our Drivers' Champion, but the Constructors' Championship still up for grabs. My name was always Darragh, Thacker, joined in the commentary booth by Joshua, Griffin, Meek, and Joshua. Gosh, I don't know why I full named you there.
That's all right.
We've got a great season finale. Hopefully a little bit drier than it was yesterday for Tier 1. We'll get some great racing action because we've still got stuff to decide this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, over the course of the spring, it has been a little bit of a cruel summer with this game cycle, hasn't it? It's not exactly been the most perfect of game cycles, but certainly something to look forward to here at PRL. The finale, they finally got to the end of it for season 12 on F123. Real question I have, is Rapid OG going to be able to pull out all the stocks in F124? But let's move on from the Drivers' Championship. That's all been settled, that's all been wrapped up, because we still have a little bit of a battle for the Constructors. Now, as you can see on your screen, 216 points to Ferrari, 186 to Alfa Romeo. It's a little bit of a gap, but with the pace we've seen from the likes of Rapid OG and Donwar, there is a chance for them to close it up.
I mean, there is, but we've also seen many a comeback, haven't we, in our times, and this may be no different. You can never rule anything out, particularly in PRL, but motorsport in general. But looking forward to this race, really, because, I mean, even in the Drivers' Championship, you look there between Crazy Guy Do It, Halo, Beast, Craggies, there's 7 points between those 4 drivers. You look further down with Oliver Sequeira, Mythbusters, Poloski, Crew Steamers, another 5 points between them. So there's still positions to decide in this championship order, and you're not going to really rule anybody out of this battle because there's lots and lots of guys that have a shout, really, aren't there?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's only fair to say, you know, this could be a true love story happening here for the Alfa Romeo team. We know the Ferrari team, they've got, you know, that synergy, that cohesion. If Donwar is able to pull off a massive upset, try and grab pole position, try and get a couple extra points in qualifying and carry it through into the race, I'm not ready for it. I'll be honest with you. I'm really not.
Oh, neither am I. But, I mean, are Ferrari going to be able to get rid of Alfa Romeo, shake it off, you could say, from their challenge?
It's not out the woods for them, let's be honest. Ferrari, they've got a lead. They're certainly looking to be a little bit delicate heading into qualifying, but we know exactly what they're capable of.
We're gonna have to stop this before we run out of puns, aren't we?
Yeah, just a little bit.
We might find ourselves on lap 5 with absolutely nothing to say. We're gonna get into qualifying though. Well, short qualifying, 18 minutes, and then we'll get our way into the race. 8 points for pole, 7 for second, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As is always the case here in PRL. Who's gonna take home all of the points? We're gonna find out here as we load into the lobby.
Ooh.
It's raining again, but full grid of 20 drivers.
Yes. I mean, especially considering it's intermediate weather as well, it's going to throw up a little bit of a dynamic for the drivers. Do they want to get out on the circuit now, try and shift a little bit of that water, or do they know something perhaps we don't? Is it going to get a little bit dry towards the end of the session? Are we just going to be sitting here having a lovely little picnic and really enjoying our wildest dreams here?
I mean, this could be interesting. You know, we might see a surprise sprung in this qualifying session. I mean, you know, lots can happen. Intermediate conditions. I love an intermediate condition, I have to say. Whenever I see that, you know, Insta is the fastest tyre, I am loving it because I know that I can be one of the fastest drivers on the grid in these conditions. Don't like it when it dries up though, because I'm not as quick. But some of these drivers will perform better in these intermediate conditions compared to the slicks. I think I find often pad drivers that don't use traction are very good in these conditions because they have that ability and they're used to being able to really kind of ride on the limit.
Yeah, you know, it's very somewhat... I don't want to say more in tune with what they're used to on the pad, but it could certainly be a bigger gap in between the use of a pad in these conditions, being delicate with the trigger. That's something they're used to. They've had to be used to in order to really try and acclimate towards no traction control. Meanwhile, with the pedal, it can still be a little bit twitchy. You will have to somewhat readjust your muscle memory so you can really dial yourself in. And, yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting one, but we do have CJQ out on track already. Now, you know, CJQ. Let's give a little bit of context here, because of course we got the McLaren duo, father son. CJQ, would you say he's been quicker than his father over the course of a season? We're going to cause that argument tomorrow morning at breakfast. I'm bringing it up now.
I don't know. Does that help? Because realistically, Frankie's has scored the points. But we've seen the pace from CJQ, I think, a little bit more at times. He's just not been able to convert that into race wins.
Yeah.
So he's been there or thereabouts, but I don't think we've just seen him gathering enough points, and it's why McLaren in that championship are struggling that little bit more than some of their competitors down in P7. Of course, they might be able to overtake Williams this evening. Red Bull, bit of a long shot, but I think there's points to be won here, and they've kind of been, I think, underperforming in races, I think it's fair to say, but they've definitely got the raw pace and rolled on season 13 for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be very much how we're going to be able to adapt to the new game, but if anything is to go by from CJQ's outright pace he's shown so far on this game, it's been absolutely gorgeous, to be quite honest, hasn't it? Sometimes we see him put together a lap. Think it back to Qatar. Didn't necessarily have the best run in the qualifying, but he was consistently putting in fast lap after fast lap, and it was just one or two mistakes here or there which really let him down in that race. But when it comes to Silverstone, surely, driver with more experience, is that going to be, where we start to see Craggy's really trying to push for boundaries and trying to get himself out there a little bit more?
Yeah, it'd be interesting, I think. Now, one thing to note, I just wanted to point out, I think it's going to dry up, because very few drivers have left the pit lane. We have got, more than half the grid still sat in the pit lane. I think they're waiting for it to dry up. I can't see why they'd be sat in the pit lane, wasting some valuable running time in an 18-minute session if they didn't think it was going to dry out. So, keep an eye. This could be one of, my favourite type of qualifying session, which is whoever crosses the line last has the best chance, because they are the best.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I do believe we've already seen one of those here at PRL this season. I can't quite recall what qualifying session it was towards the start, but it was certainly something very similar to that. I think it might have been Austria. Not with the weather conditions, but it was very evident that whoever crossed that line last had the best track, had the most grip, and was able to pull out stonking lap time. I can't quite recall. Might have to go and look through the history books for that one during the break.
Yeah, you might have to. We'll try and work out what happened there. But, of course, been a great season, hasn't it? This is the 10th race in Tier 2. We've had 20 races here. Myself, Josh, Sappy, and Alex have been on. And Zach Sweeney. Who can forget Zach Sweeney?
Can't.
We down a slacker. No, we can't forget that, can we?
No, we can't.
CJQ's gone fastest, though. 36-0. No, I was going to mention, so between all of us, this is the 20th race that we have done commentary on, and it's been a blast, isn't it, really? Both championships have been fantastic. We've had some great racing. And Tier 2, I think every week, maybe making up for the numbers that we maybe lack in Div 1, the racing in Div 2 really provides us some great action. And the times are often close. And we'll see if Halo can put himself right up there close with CJQ. This looks like he might even go to the top of the timesheets. And there it goes, 35.4. That's a benchmark.
Absolutely. Sitting here doing a little bit of research slightly earlier in the day, having a look at the qualifying times we saw last night, comparing it to a couple of leagues, a couple of divisions out there. And all of it's now meaningless. Because someone, I'm not going to mention names, right? But I know Zach has a very big watering can. And I'm not just saying that because, small joke, haha. But he does have a very large watering can. And I feel like he's had some sort of interference here.
Was Zach Sweeney?
Yeah.
Watering can.
Yeah, he's got a watering can.
Well, he's got 5 tattoos already, I think. He only turned 18 about 3 weeks ago, bless him. But you're forgetting, Josh. Whenever I'm here, it rains.
That is very true.
It's the Meek curse. But think about it. There was rain yesterday. There's rain tonight. When is there not rain when I'm here? That's the real point. I'm the bad curse on this league.
I'm not sure about on this league, but let's definitely say Oliver Sequeira has got a curse himself, right? You might bring the bad weather, but Oliver Sequeira always, and I mean always, in with a shout, getting some really good points. Sometimes it works to somewhat his benefit. He's able to finish P5, P4, P6, somewhere around there. Other times, small incidents start creeping in, accidents happen, and he falls down the points order. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it, before he even finishes his qualifying lap, Oliver Sequeira is getting a podium, at the very least here. I have faith in the Red Bull driver. That's what I'm saying.
Sequeira has finished 4th twice. I mean, his run of results so far has been 9th in Spain, then at Portugal he found himself 11th, Netherlands 10th, and we moved to Austria where he got 9th again, Abu Dhabi he got 4th, Saudi Arabia he got 4th, Qatar he got 6th, and Belgium he got 11th. So it's nothing if not consistent, finishes every race, and he's always in there, but, you know, not really ever in the end getting the big points, but a P2 right now is a great place to be in. At this stage of qualifying, we're seeing everyone out really now, apart from Vintage AR5, who we saw yesterday, and Rapid OG, who has already, of course, got that title wrapped up. So, very good lap time there for Oliver Sequeira. Let's see if he can build on that. Craggy's went P2. Alfredo's going to go into P10. Definitely time to find for him. But maybe the times are coming down as well, with Craggy's putting up into the front row.
Yeah, absolutely. Time's clearly coming down. You can see that little bit of a dry line starting to form, and that's exactly what the intermediates are going to be the most optimal on. They don't need too much water to try and cool them down. They'll be running absolutely perfect in a slightly shallower, slightly oily line. That's where they're going to be able to find the grip. That's where they're going to be able to exclamate that advantage they have over the likes of the wet compound tyre. Hence the reason why we see so many drivers with intermediates. And the more running they do, the more water they shift. So you theoretically got to assume from now until maybe even the end of a session, lap times, they're just going to get quicker and quicker. And potentially, we might start seeing a little sneaky bit of dry tyres getting picked up here. But with everything being said, Rapid OG, we know his eye is still on ceiling constructors. But with Ferrari and Beast especially being able to put in a very solid lap time to get himself up into P3, and Shane, once again, going for another prenup lap, making sure he can somewhat get the car back into a temperature where he's comfortable driving it, they are a formidable force to keep an eye on here today.
And I think they are definitely a bit of... I mean, we had, 13 cars yesterday. We saw the gaps open up, but we've got 20 cars here tonight. And we've got these guys, you mentioned the Ferrari particularly, who are good at capitalising on those pockets of space between the cars. There aren't too many spaces, I don't think, during this race, particularly if it's dry, because you often get a DRS train around here. Of course, with the 2, when he said 3 DRS zones, it feels like 3, but the 2 DRS zones that we have, and coupled with another couple relatively long straights, it's easy, relatively, to stay in that slipstream and to try and keep yourself within tabs of the cars in front. So we might see a lot of that in this race, and it might have a bearing all the way through until the end of the 26 laps. But Silverstone's always a track where, you know, a lot happens. A lot of overtakes occur. You've really got to position yourself well and save that ERS.
Yeah, and it's not only overtakes which tend to happen. We have seen a little bit of contact here and there. I mean, of course, yesterday in the wet weather conditions as well, we saw how difficult it was for the drivers to be able to put down the power, especially coming through the likes of Aintree. You know, heading into the Wellington Straight, you gain so much time by just going on the power slightly earlier, coming out the loop, heading through Aintree, just picking up the throttle ever so graciously. But all it takes is a couple extra percentage, maybe a slightly higher dip, making it a little bit more open, and then next thing you know, you're facing a wall, facing all the way back into Village. It can be so difficult to be able to absolutely get it nailed down and make it absolutely a stellar lap. But Mythbuster's doing a very fantastic job all by himself there, being able to climb himself up into P4 with 135 flat. And the question lies here, how low are these lap times going to go with these drivers?
I mean, that's the real question. I mean, we don't know if it's going to dry. If it dries, then they're going to plummet, you'd say. But it doesn't look like it's going to be drying anytime soon. The rain is, I think, still falling.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It was difficult from that camera angle to see, but as the car pulled through, you can see the rain is still coming down. But the times don't seem to be taking a hit from that, so maybe lightening off a touch. Rapid OG, we'll see what he's doing through the middle sector split. I don't know if he's on a lap time here, but he's definitely got a Ferrari up his chuff. Might have to be careful that he's not blocking the Ferrari. Because the middle sector is not going to be anything good for Rapid OG.
No, he's...
Maybe he's just hitting a banker.
Perhaps. You know, you sit there and you think, he's deployed a little bit of battery, so there was clearly an intent to try and go for a lap. But I'm wondering whether Ferrari up the road might have interfered slightly, maybe gave him a little bit dirtier, so the car wasn't feeling as aerodynamic, as agile as he would have necessarily liked. So he's decided to go set himself down, go get this bank lap sorted, and then really try and look to push for this lap heading through now. Or I'm going to play a little devil's advocate. He might be trying, as I mentioned in the interview last week, if you were, fortunate enough to join us, a last to first challenge. We know he wants to do it with constructors, but if he wants to challenge himself, he feels like it's too far out of reach. Why not go for a last to first?
I mean, that doesn't look scintillating so far, just from this camera angle. It might be quite a nice one. I mean, he needs to find 13 seconds to be near the front. CJQ's improving by quite a bit through the middle sector. But yeah, he might go for the last to first. Give us a little bit of excitement, give us a little bit of tension. But CJQ is hoping to relieve some of that stress and tension, putting himself much more comfortably in that top 10 through the final corner at Club he comes. And yeah, goes P8. A bit of an improvement, well, actually, quite a large improvement, but there is going to be a second now between 8th and 11th. So, difficult to make big gains through there because we've kind of got a couple of echelons forming. The first through 8th, 5/10, and then it's another second back 3 positions.
Yeah, it's certainly, a little bit of a tough one for these drivers to somewhat try and get a grasp of, with the circuit constantly changing. Perhaps maybe going for a slightly heavier fuel load, being able to put up consecutive lap times, because we know the intermediates don't wear away such a a rapid rate in comparison to the soft compound tyres. So perhaps just going with slightly more fuel, getting yourself readjusted to this condition, before then diving it into the pits and the dying moments of the qualifying session. Fresh set of tyres, limited fuel, give it your all. Because at the end of the day, that's all any of these drivers can do, is give it their best shot. And we've got so many different drivers here who are capable of grabbing themselves a pole position. It's just very much whether it'll fall in their laps and whether they're going to be able to make the most of this opportunity in the wet.
Yeah, you've got to be in it to win it, don't you? You can't really make a big mistake on that final flying lap, especially if we get a little bit of a lightning, a little bit of an improved track, because you don't really want to be giving your rivals any kind of chance to, stretch their legs in front of you, because, of course, we know that the Drivers' Championship is over. We know that there's still a Constructors' Championship going on, but there are still many positions up and down the field that are yet to be finalised. So a lot of these drivers will be looking at who's around them in the championship, trying to think, well, where can I gain points? Can I gain points? And it's going to be important for them in their own personal battles to really put a pay, really, to the others' chances in this race. Shane, I think Shane must be doing a last to first here because he's still on these intermediates.
Does he have 60 laps worth of fuel in his car?
I don't know.
I wish he was able to go in cockpit with you to have a look. I think he is. I think he's running an awful lot of fuel in the car. Explain the reason why he's so far down there, but why not? Why not have a little bit of fun? You can see majority of championship protagonists, of course, Rapid OG's slightly further down there as well in P19. He's got 50 plus laps of fuel in. Rapid Gopher, let's have a little look at what he's running fuel-wise. You can see it's just in the top right of the steering wheel. He's got about 29 laps. So he's certainly going to be looking to try and grab P18 from his rivals behind him. But, for that being said, it does create a little window of opportunity for a couple of these drivers to catch up in the Drivers' Championship. Of course, Championship's already decided, but a few extra places here and there for the drivers. The likes of just Komi-san, Halo, Craggies, they're not gonna disagree with it. They're not gonna argue. They're gonna very happily take that.
You wouldn't turn your nose up at some points, would you?
Exactly.
Especially at the final race on F1 23 for most, if not all, of these guys in PRL. So you want to get all the points on the board right now because you're going to carry yourself and this kind of confidence through to a new game, to a new handling model into F1 24. So you want to keep that up and you want to keep yourself a little bit more positive going into a game where we don't know how it's going to handle. We don't know what's going to happen. Me. Hopefully it's a little bit better.
Darragh, do not scare me using the words a new handling model. Patty Pat, invalidation. 5-second grid penalty there for Mythbusters. Was there a bit of contact there as well, did I see?
Well, I'd be surprised if we got a 5-second grid penalty. I'd love to see that applied, if I'm honest.
Honestly, me too. I feel like it would be certainly something different for the FIA to try and do.
I did see CJQ backwards, I think, off the track. So I really don't know what's gone on there. But something has gone awry. CJQ's still trying to get out of the way. On the inside of Luffield, which is an inventive place, if I'm honest.
Little lawnmower win. It's never hurt
The time is
anyone.
ticking down. Yeah, exactly. The time is ticking down. I think just Komi-san is coming out of the pit lane, but far too late to set a lap time here. So he's got to be careful not to impede anybody on their final flying runs. Alfredo's just about to cross the line just to start his final lap. But, you know, everyone... I mean, because the line is realistically going to be in front of Alfredo and just Komi-san. So everybody, you know, coming through the middle sector should be able to get onto another flying lap here.
Absolutely. And you consider they're able to put in a current lap they're on, get an improvement. You've got a more relative delta compared to the track conditions. So you can see where you can gain that extra little bit of time during your second run around here. But again, that comes in mind whether they've added enough fuel. As we will see Crackies take provisional pole for now. But I feel like that's going to change very, very quickly here, Darragh.
This could change around quite drastically, couldn't it? So we're going to have to keep an eye across all of these times because they're going to come in thick and fast. But let's see. This is going to be an exciting end to qualifying. It's going to be the first driver that we're going to see, of course, going to be Alfredo in that Aston Martin. Can he keep this up all the way through to the end of the lap? He's sure going to hope so. Once he comes across the line, we're going to have a flurry, aren't we?
Absolutely. We've got the drivers already finishing the session, being Komi-san, Vintage, Jar Jar, Patty Putt, and Rapid OG. They won't be able to improve their lap times. So, the drivers out on circuit, finishing up their laps. Where are they going to be able to put it? Of course, we've got Alfredo. Then we have Oliver Sequeira hot on his heels, followed by the other Alpine driver of Collateral Zoom, currently sitting in P5. So we should be seeing quite a lot of change up towards the front here as Alfredo chucks it through Club. Where's he going to be able to put the car? Still P17, Oliver Sequeira up into P5. Oh, here we go. Collateral Zoom holds on to P6.
And here come the Mercedes, Monster and Polowski P7. Monster jumps up to P12. Then we've got one of the Alfa Romeos of Donwar. He's up to 11th. Then we look further back, and I think Halo finishes in P3 in the end of the session. CJ Hughes had a mare. Crackies is coming to the pit lane. Crackies might take pole position here at the end of the season if Beast doesn't crush his dreams and squash them like a fly on the bottom of his shoe. Through the final corner, through the Vale chicane, I should say, because the final corner's coming up at Club. Not the best of lines, and Beast pulling out of the way. He's not going to improve here. Letting through a couple of cars just about. Crazy Guy Do It. It's going to improve to P7. Nearly big contact. Mythbusters go 6th. With only a couple more drivers to come across the line. Alberto Maracucho, one of them in the Williams. He will cross the line from P14 to P5. Big jump for him. It's just going to be Rapid Gopher, who's the last driver across the line. He doesn't improve, and it's going to be Craggy's Josh on pole.
Yes, absolutely. Craggy's being able to grab himself a pole by 14 thousandths of a second. I mean, you take the big guns out, you take the Rapid Duo out, you take Shane out, give him a little bit of extra fuel, and you can still see how close this entire grid is. It is absolutely fantastic to see day in, day out, week in, week out. The drivers constantly improving, constantly getting closer to one another. It's utterly fantastic having such a great duo leading the way. Crackies and Komi-san on the front row. Question remains, could Komi have San got himself pole position if he was out on circuit slightly earlier in order to get enough time to do his lap? That's the question I've got hanging over my head at the minute.
I mean, the question I also have is about whether he would have had enough time full stop to get around. Because I can't remember exactly when he finished his other lap. But, you know, things we'll never know, eh?
True.
But it is Craggy's. 8 points for pole. Great for McLaren. We said that they might be able to take some points in this final race of the season. I'm going to be honest, didn't quite expect a pole position. But here we are. Great stuff for Craggy's. Full credit to him. Picking up the 8 points from pole. Just Komi-san. 14,000 second on the grid. Halo and Beast third and fourth. That's a good second row with Alberto Maracuzo and Oliver Sequeira, all Venezuelan third row. Mythbusters and Collateral Zoom, Crazy I Do It and Polowski are in the top 10. Then we got Vintage AR5, who was in tier 1 yesterday, and Donmore on row 6. CJQ behind his father in 13th and Monster in 14th. Then it's Jar Jar, Patty Pat on the 8th row, Alfredo and Rapid Gopher, Rapid OG and Shane. You'd say that Rapid Gopher, Rapid OG and Shane are probably three of the fastest drivers in this race, but they are going to be starting right at the back of the field. See how they work their way through, Josh.
And I'll tell you what, it's an absolute brilliant example for those of you who aren't too familiar with the Formula 1 game and aren't really too familiar with how the fuel affects the cars. You know, very layman's terms, more fuel, less agile, more weight, slower. But that there shows how much slower it can be. Those three drivers are drivers you would feel comfortable putting in a pole position shout. And you could see them well off the pace of the rest of the grid because they had a little bit more fuel in the car. Speaking of fuel, we do have a little update on what happened between Crazy I Do It and Beast heading through Club. Beast ran out of fuel.
That'll be why I didn't improve.
I mean,
that isn't ideal, really.
It makes sense, doesn't it, when Chains added 70 litres of fuel to his car? Or should I say 70 laps worth of fuel to the car? Beast, not necessarily enough of a Ferrari garage. Couple of logistic problems there, but then again, it's Ferrari. What do you expect?
I mean, as much of the shortage as BP did last year, of course. That was a fun week, wasn't it? I loved that. That was great. Anyway, we're going to go straight into the formation lap. Not too long for waiting around, and with it still being wet, the question remains, will it dry out? Will we get another 26 laps of wet running here, Josh? I mean...
No.
Is it raining?
It's not raining. It's not raining. I'm surprised one of these drivers hasn't decided to try and go for a dry set of tyres.
On this point, actually, there was a race I was in recently at Qatar where it was custom weather, and it was full wet to inters to dries. They I know. They were on inters off the start when it was clearly full wet, and even though they dropped back 4 seconds a lap for the first 4 laps, ended up in the lead when everyone else pitted for intermediate tyres. So I'm surprised no one's gone for the gamble. Patty Pad, of course, going to start at the back with his 5-place grid penalty, so let's see what he can do. Hopefully we'll see some TikToks. We might be able to get in on the action, Josh.
Please, Patty, come on. Sort of brother out. I'm giving you screen time here on Formation Lap. Come on. You know you want to.
Give us some airtime.
Patty Pat,
give us TikTok likes.
Go straight to that hard compound tyre. Lap 1.
Ooh,
straight to the hards.
that's a good one.
Cruise yourself round. When the track starts getting quicker and you see other drivers start to pit, dive it over to a set of softs. You would have done your mandatory. You would have done a long haul on that hard compound tyre, right? Dying embers of a race, soft compound tyre. You'd already gained a little bit on those who potentially would have to double stack as well. You basically cut half a field out at that point. You could be very much in for a good point haul in towards that top 10, maybe even the top 5 if you're able to extract the pace on the hard compounded tyre as soon as it starts heading into that dry weather condition. But with all that being said, unfortunately drivers aren't allowed to dive it in the pits like we saw that one time around the Hungaroring. I mean, who can forget the Bottas bowling we saw? And Lewis Hamilton starting the race all by himself.
That goes down as one of my favourite races of all time. I know everyone loves it. I still think it was underrated. Nothing in that race made any sense whatsoever. Lateral Zoom picked up 3 points. Yes, he did. In his Alpine. And then it was on qualifying, it was 2 for Crazy I Do It and 1 for Pelosi. Look at me. I've done all the maths. Before we get into the session. Right.
Already add up those 25 points for Sequeira winning this race. Start a little bit further back, just qualified in his grid box, but he's just going to get a better launch. I'm telling you right now, Darragh. It's happening.
It's the banker. Right, 26 laps left in PRL Div 2 for Season 12. We've got our champion. We've not quite decided the constructors, but a mixed-up grid is going to provide us some great racing action with the lights out and racing underway. Craggies gets a good enough start to lead down in towards Turn 1, but Halo, actually, what a launch from him around the outside. Can he hold it? I don't think he can. They'll emerge through Farm with Halo and just Komi-san fighting away for the lead, but Craggy's just about going to stretch his lead at the front. Beast and Clash will Zoom fighting away for P4, as they also find him behind with Oliver Sequeira. Crazy I Do It 3, 4 wide as they make their way through the loop and in towards Aintree. Great start though for Craggies. Great start as well for Rapid Gopher. He's gone from 18th to 12th.
Yeah, and Pat as well. 20th up into 14th. Straight from the start, exactly what he needed. Now, head down, focus up as he moves himself up into P13. I feel like we're going to be seeing some very bold and very brave moves from every single driver on this grid. They know what's at stake. They know championships all wrapped up. It's all constructors-wise now. How are the team dynamics going to come into play? Of course, we've got P2 and P3 belonging to the AlphaTauris, P6 and P7 towards the Williams. Surely they can play a couple of mind games here.
I think so. I mean, that's very, very wide from that is. I think that's Rapid Gopher, but Donwar had an awful corner. Patty Pat. 9 places in the 1 lap. I have to say, actually, I did a race at Silverstone recently, and I went from 20th to 11th on lap 1. Ended up coming P3. Is that a sign for things to come for Patty Pat? He's not going to quite do a triple overtake down in towards Stowe like I did, but I mean, he's not going to complain. He might have to look in his mirrors because Rapid Gopher is trying to make the move. Of course, our vice champion this season, not going to take it off of off of Rapid OG tonight, but he might be able to pick up some glory with doing a bit of a last to first in his own race. Craggy's fast lap as you'd expect, but the gaps, they haven't really opened on this opening lap.
No, you're looking at probably the biggest gap on the circuit being between Oliver Sequeira and Beast. And we know Oliver Sequeira very much likes pacing himself, waiting out the race, seeing how it somewhat all unfolds. We know his strategy, we know his techniques. He's more than capable of keeping pace with the likes of Halo, Beast, and Alberto Maracucci behind. But it's a very interesting tactic to try and back off a little bit, maybe trying to get a little bit of cool air back in towards the engine, look after the tyres a little bit more, because you can see the rain now has started to pick up once again.
That's maybe why we didn't see anybody on the on the dry tyres, because it wasn't looking too good in terms of the weather. Ooh, fighting down here. Monster nearly hitting the back of Rapid OG. I think there was a little bit of contact, and that didn't look too comfortable through there for those two fighting for P13. And Monster, big mistake off the exit of left field as well. But back up to the front, and just Komi-san, he's applying the pressure to Craggy's.
Absolutely. We know Craggy's hasn't always been the calmest when it comes to these situations, but you've got to think, last race of the season, he's got absolutely nothing to lose. All he's got to do, keep pace, run his own race. There won't be any DRS to help Komi-san as long as the rain keeps falling. He's just going to have to rely on his battery pack. Craggy's absolutely knows that. Perhaps we're going to see maybe a little bit of what we used to see back with the old LMP1 cars, with a little bit of battery management, a little bit of battery deployment, just to try and match exactly what the car behind is doing. But again, we are seeing so many different sort of techniques, different lines all the drivers are using. It's very fascinating, as we do see Collateral Zoom and Crazy Eye do it. Having a little lift tap there, heading into the Vale chicane. Thankfully, both of them still pointing the right way. I don't want to say hammer time, but it's certainly looking that way for those drivers up towards the front, as Komi-san has a little sniff to the inside, decides the smell isn't exactly as he likes. He's got to leave it in the oven for a little bit longer, because the last thing he wants is to try and make a roller overtake here.
That's it. Full credit for that one. That was a good line, that. You used that one before?
No.
Oh.
Closest thing I ever got to was saying a lecturer gave us... lecturer cooked up one of his seminars, and we wasn't sure whether it was raw or burnt.
Oh dear. Well, you know, you want to make sure that you're keeping it nice and fresh, a little bit al dente. It's not been an al dente start for Patty Pat, because he's very nice and cooked all the way through up in P11. That hasn't really worked, has it, that analogy? I'll move on from that pretty quickly. Just Komi-san, though, he's looking to make the move. Of course, no DRS enabled in the rain. He's not going to be able to use that to his advantage. But does he need to in towards Marcus and Beckett's? That would have been brave. It would have been bold, but probably wisely sat in behind and just decided, no, I'll give it a minute. I'll get you down towards the Vale chicane or even at Stowe.
Absolutely, and it's very much going to be somewhat of a creme brulee Master Chef cook-off here. You know exactly what you got to do. It's just whether you've got the delicacy to apply that little bit of a burnt top towards the dessert to make it oh so sweet. As we see, okay.
Oh!
Well, at least from the pit lane. Silver lining, I suppose.
Well, that's a disaster.
Yeah, well, we found out the creme brulee was made with a flamethrower, not a blowtorch.
And Halo's just gone, where's the door gone? Where's the door gone? That's what Halo's saying. He's through into the lead. Beast and Oliver Sequeira. Oliver Sequeira's third, Josh.
It's happening!
With a chance. It is happening. We've waited so many weeks for this. It's been 2 months. I've never talked to Oliver Sequeira in my lifetime, but me and you, we've got the Venezuelan flags, we've got the Red Bull merchant. Well, you definitely have.
Absolutely, let's go.
Absolutely gunning. As he's up into P2, great move on Beast, but there's a 3-second gap to Halo. Let's see if he can close it in these coming laps. But Halo very much sitting pretty at this point.
Absolutely, Halo just having to run his own race now. He's going to turn his mind off, not worry about what's going on behind him, and just go to his heart's content. That's going to be his focal point. You can take it a little bit easier to avoid the penalties. We know penalties came into play last night. Last thing he's going to want to do is put a little bit more pressure on himself by picking up a 3-second time penalty, which can put him into jeopardy, to the very own hands of what might be one of the greatest drivers I've seen consistency-wise in a very long time. Not always able to find the pace, but when he does, he's always there. And that, of course, is the one and only, the PRL GOAT, Oliver Sequeira. And I've said it, so he's got to do it now. That's how it works.
He has got to do it.
He's got
There's
to.
no disappointing the big JGM.
No,
if there is.
Mate, I'll get the sandwich out. I'll get the 2 pieces of bread. I'll find Oliver Sequeira and put his head in between them.
Looking in the chats quickly, I've noticed that Morns to put in the YouTube chat that it's been nice weather here in the Midlands all day. It's been gorgeous weather in the east of England. It's been up to something like 21 degrees. It's been lovely. It's actually funny, because where I live, it's always either the hottest place or the coldest place. There's no in between. And then in the YouTube chat, good evening. Sorry, not in the YouTube. In the Twitch chat, good evening to Speedy Bullet, evening to Rabin, Ogilvy. I don't know how you pronounce that. Evening, Speedy Bullet as well. And Villeneuve, lovely to see you guys in the chat. Let us know how you think this race is going to pan out over the coming 21 laps. There's a spin at the back. Alfredo and CJQ, the McLarens. They're having a bit of a Western Super, aren't they? It's not going well, but CJQ now last on track behind just Comey Sand, who's coming to the pit lane, of course, after hitting himself into there. But still time to recover. Craigies, seemingly without damage, looking to retake that podium spot.
Yeah, absolutely. He's certainly trying to keep the pressure up on towards Beast here, but have you noticed how much of the gap Oliver Square has been able to pull out? I'm telling you, something special in the future there here at PRL. Keep an eye out for him in Tier 1. I'm sure he'll be there in a matter of seasons. But we do have Mythbusters leaving the session. Once again, another prominent feature of F1 23. Boy, I cannot wait to shut the door on this game. I hope he's able to get back in.
Who was that disconnected as well? Was it CBQ?
It was Mythbusters.
Oh, Mythbusters. Oh, that's not looking good.
No.
Just Comey Sand through second time penalty right at the back of the field. Bit of a contact between Beast and Alberto Maracucho. Could be much, much worse than it was. Craigies is hoping to run away from the Ferrari driver. Ferrari, who do go into this race with a nice 35-point advantage. So, Alfa Romeo require a win in second, or a win in third, or a win in fourth. There's really no in between, and it's not going that way at this stage of the race. CJQ, another 3-second time penalty, not going well for him. But for Williams, that's a team I want to mention because they're in a big fight with McLaren. They go into this race 1 point behind them, and they've had a much better start so far. Currently picking up 18 points to Craigie's 15, but that 3 seconds not going to help him out.
Absolutely not. And like father, like son, picking up penalty with one another. Again, the tandem, the duality between these two, it's almost incomprehensible. You know, you can tell they're part of the same family. Whenever one of them seems to have somewhat of a down, not necessarily a great performance, the other one is right there to pick up the pieces. To me, that's the reason why they make such a great team. Right, one of them will have a lackluster weekend, have a couple of mistakes. The other one, very happy to pick up the pieces. We've seen it both ways with Craigie's making mistakes. We've seen it with CJQ making mistakes. But the other driver is always there to be able to pick something up. And to me, that shows a level of maturity and a level of development that they've got, not only as race drivers out on track, but you would assume in family life as well between the two. Fantastic dynamic, and for me, it's going to be very interesting at these two looking slightly further forward in their careers here at PRL, see what else they're going to be able to get up to, and any sort of mischief they'll be able to conquer.
And let's hope for all the best in the future for all of these guys, because we're really hoping to move forward towards season 13 with some of these drivers still finding out. Oh, Williams going side by side into team battle. Not what they need in terms of the points. Poloski's in here as well. Rapid OG squirming around. Don't get hit by collateral Zuma, Mr. Champion, because he's right on the rear of the man who won it last week. Didn't have to worry about picking up points here at Silverstone, and you wouldn't want to be worrying whether you got fighting ahead of you like this, maybe around the outside at turn 3. Be a bold and a brave move, but collateral zoom. Round goes Rapid OG, and I think collateral zoom might have some questions to answer after that one.
Yeah, a little bit too optimistic on the brakes, I think, down the inside. It is a great overtaking opportunity if you're able to pull it off, but unfortunately there, we saw, wasn't quite able to get the magic to work. Rapid OG falling down to P14, now with Vintage for company. While all this has been happening as well, Comey Sands decided to call it a day, retired from the session after that little bit of contact slightly earlier on. But, oh, it's all happening now, isn't it? They've lost the plot. They're going hell for leather. They're not here just to race anymore. They're here to take names.
No, they're not here for any prisoners, are they? That's for sure. Of the drivers that started at the back, Rapid Gopher, obviously not doing the best in P14. Rapid OG, of course, got spun, P12. Shane's in P10. But the man who didn't even want to start last, Patty Pat, he's up to 9th. What a race he's having so far. 7 laps in. nice to see that the drivers are still relatively close together. I'm still wondering whether this track's going to dry out because the rain looks light at the moment. I know it's been light all the way through, but you just feel like it just might dry out. And we've got two people coming into the pit lane. Beast and Craggies, do they know something that we don't?
Perhaps, but you would still assume with a little bit of rain falling here, surely we'd at least be 2 laps away from drier weather. But I can tell you've a little bit of a secret Patty Pat's got to why he's able to perform so well in these sort of scenarios, in this race condition. It's because it turns into absolute carnage, and we know he loves carnage. He loves a little bit of, the dramaticism, and certainly trying to get himself up there. And in amongst, sometimes he likes to cause a little bit of carnage by somewhat qualifying slightly higher than maybe he should do. Sometimes he likes to cause a little bit of carnage on a racetrack by making very bold, very brave overtakes that no other driver would necessarily think about. But when it does turn into carnage, like we're seeing here, these interconditions with drivers making contact, he's the one who gains the most out of it, and it's absolutely evident to see from that first lap. He was more than willing to cause carnage, take risks, and he did so brilliantly to get himself up into P11, and now drivers ahead, starting to make errors, starting to make mistakes, he's climbed himself all the way up into P7. Phenomenal stuff from him so far, but he's not alone. There are many drivers out there who like these sort of conditions where it's a little bit rough, it's a little scrappy. It's not necessarily all nice, clean, fair racing. A little bit of a dark arts is where a lot of these drivers can really start to excel in their pace.
Yeah, and hopefully they can perform on the big stage, as we're seeing in Malmö this week, of course, Eurovision. I missed that to do the commentary last night, but don't worry, I've watched it with 2 different people today, so I've now watched it twice. Last night. Halo's coming to the pit lane. He's going to be going on to, I think, a fresh set of intermediates, as we've seen Craggy's beat Rafa go from Alfredo go on to. I'm not too sure why. I wouldn't have thought this was a 2-stop race off the Inter. I mean, obviously it's going to be a 1-stop. You're never going to get these tyres to the end, but I thought 2-stop maybe a little bit. Maybe, I'm just not sure, because it's such a long pit lane here. You lose a lot of time with the pit loss, so I'm not too sure what the strategy really is. But the most important thing, Josh.
Yes.
Oliver Sequeira winning the race, we will be there.
Honestly, sign me up. Get the tattoos out. There you go. That's a new one for Mr. Sweeney. Just Oliver Sequeira across his chest. No context, just his name.
Fantastic, wouldn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Let's hope he doesn't match, in the end, the record that I've just seen Nico Hulkenberg take now of most Grand Prix without a win. Because most finishes without a win, I think that could definitely be... If he finishes this race, he will have finished 9 races without a win. Without a podium as well, that will definitely be top of the table.
Yes.
But he's winning, and he's pulling away from Alberto Maracuccio. If he could do this on a 1-stop, stopping him from winning this race. Because I can't think of anything.
I mean...
Apart from himself, maybe.
Ideally, nothing will stop him. He's going to be undeniable. He's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Realistically, when these intermediate tyres get to a somewhat of a drop-off point, they become next to undrivable. Safety cars, we've already seen a bit of contact. We've seen a little bit of friendly argy-bargy. That could very much interfere. Again, we know he's prone to make a couple of mistakes here or there with track limits. 3-second penalty could be disastrous. And also the weather. The reason I think they've pit on lap 9 is because I reckon it's going to be a wet, and then dry towards the end. Because, of course, 50% races, you get the 3 cubes. All the weather is always randomised here at PRL. But on that little dashboard, they might have seen at the start of a race strategy. If it shows right towards the end, all it takes is one safety car, and you're guaranteed probably about 6-7 laps of dry weather running. With the rain still coming down, I don't understand why they would pit now, unless it was to go to dries later on in the race.
I mean, if we can take a quick look at the gap to leader here, between Oliver Sequeira and Craggy, yeah, 25 seconds. I know the tyres are going to be going off for Oliver Sequeira, but even if the rain stops in, even 7 laps time, I just can't see them gaining nearly 4 seconds a lap. I just don't see how that's possible, including overtaking everybody as well. I mean, Halo's only 21 behind, but that's still a big old gap to gain, especially when we don't know when the rain's going to stop. So this is going to be interesting on the strategy, really going to play a part, because it's been about 50-50 in the drivers that have stayed out, and those who have pitted, actually saying that 6 have stayed out, so it's not too many. But this is interesting. Rapid OG, Patty Pat, they've gone long. It'd be quite interesting, particularly for when the rain stops.
Yeah, or if it does stop. Again, if it doesn't stop, surely the drivers who have put themselves in such a vulnerable position. You're sitting there, we know how much quicker these fresh intermediate tyres are. That's going to be evident because of the massive amount of an undercut we're going to be able to get. But when it comes towards the latter end of the stage, towards this race, as we do see Rapidoji pull into the pit lane now. So perhaps looking... Oh, another 5-second penalty. Speeding of a pit lane for Rapidoji. How many times has he done that?
Well, it's a good job it doesn't matter, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's something he's got to look forward to. F124. Fix him a pit entries. Take a more of a Sebastian Vettel approach. Just be overly cautious. Because 5-second penalties, if it mattered for the championship today, could be absolutely catastrophic. But thankfully, it's all sorted. He's just got to keep his head. He's just got to enjoy the race. And that's the most important part. Being able to come out here knowing there's very little to gain, but still trying to have an absolute whale of a time here at PRL, which is certainly something a lot of these drivers are aiming to do, especially with the likes of Crazy I Do It all over the back of Beast.
Yeah, Beast's really not having the best of races, is he? He's being attacked from every single direction. Here's Crazy I Do It. Doing the move. Up to P8 now, inside line, down in towards Brooklands. Goodbye, RRL Beast. I hope you have a lovely evening. Don't get too... Oh, my word! Oh. I am amazed that Crazy I Do It's not gone around there. That was a bit of a send, I think it's fair to say, from Beast. That... Yeah, I did see that one coming, if I'm honest.
You only live once, I suppose. You might as well try and send it somewhere if you don't feel like you got the pace. Maybe a little bit of a desperate move, but at the same time, Crazy I Do It on a lap fresher tyres. Might not seem like a lot, but when it comes to these intermediate tyres, it makes a whole bunch of difference. You're looking probably about a tenth and a half per lap of age of tyre in comparison. And then, of course, when they hit a drop-off point, next thing you know, those intermediate tyres feel like slicks.
They do. Now, I just don't want to. I don't want to panic any of the Oliver Sequeira fans. But if we want to have a look at the gap to leader again, we're going to see Halo when his gap re-emerges. That's down to 15 seconds.
Oh dear.
That's 5 seconds has been chomped out in the last couple of laps. Yeah. So, you know, I don't think Oliver's going to be sitting particularly comfortably. Or Alberto or Patty Pat, because Patty Pat's going to face the brunt of SSR Halo's. I said FFR there. SSR Halo's pace, and I think it's not going to take him too long to make this move, and probably through Luffield, maybe around the outside if he's lucky.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, this is going to be a great example of how strong fresher intermediate tyres are in comparison to older ones. You can see he was able just to cut back so much more fluently, have so much more grip on the exit as well. As we look heading into critical corners here, he's able to make a move right around the outside. Doesn't even need to risk a Max Verstappen Lewis Hamilton incident because of the amount of grip he was able to get and the drive out of left field. Fantastic stuff from SSR Halo. Question remains, 4.2 seconds. How easily is he going to be able to pass Alberto Maracucci before trying to beat the final boss here of Oliver Sequeira? That's what I'm doing, man.
I just want to make a... No, carry on.
No, I'm just dubbing him as the final boss. That's it.
I was going to say something about the Verstappen Hamilton incident 2021, obviously, because if you've been to Silverstone, you'll know that anyone watching along, you'll know that there's a tunnel underneath the circuit as Oliver Sequeira and Alberto and Patty Pat do come in, so maybe they've given up a touch. But there is a tunnel underneath the circuit under Copse Corner, and I'd love to know which people were in that tunnel when the contact was made, because I guarantee you there was someone. And they'll be kicking themselves afterwards because they missed out on probably one of the most talked about moments in recent F1 history. Anyway, enough of me droning on. We're on lap 13 of 26 now. We're nearly halfway through this race. With Oliver Sequeira pitting, he's emerged in P6, which is actually a pretty good spot with fresh intermediate tyres as well. I mean, it's going to be much worse, I think, for him. He's only about, you're looking at 5 seconds behind Crazy I Do It with a penalty, so... This isn't that bad, actually, for Oliver Sequeira, and with these fresh tyres, he's surely going to have more pace.
Yeah, game on for Sequeira. He knows he's going to try and make moves as soon as he can, but Rapid go for just being a little bit braver on the brakes. Over towards the outside, he's picked up a 3-second time penalty. Oh, you just knew it was going to happen. It's like watching a Bayer Leverkusen game. You know something's going to happen at the end of it. Fortunately, it's not the end. It's only lap 13. He can still make a little bit of time, but... odds aren't necessarily looking at his favour at the minute. He's going to need to pull out some sort of a I don't know, maybe a trilogy of book series to try and recover something here.
And you could hear 50% of the world population crying out in anguish when that penalty did appear, but still chances, still possibilities here. Oliver Sequeira and for Rapid go for everyone in this field because anything can happen really in this race. We're on lap 13 to 26. If it doesn't go dry at the end, you think Halo, Craggy's Crazy, Beast, they're all going to have to pit again. Oliver Sequeira are likely to be able to go to the end. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic of how this is all going to play out.
I do think the top four, right? Yes, we're on slightly older tyres. I think they'll be able to make it to the end, but they'll lose so much time by dragging out those intermediate tyres. But I think they might have well have pit. If I'm going to be completely honest, but it will be a very interesting dynamic because, of course, the great Murray Walker always said, catching is one thing, passing is another. It's just whether Oliver Sequeira's got that technical ability, whether he's learnt enough over the course of his season to be able to put a couple phenomenal moves around the Silverstone circuit, where it is very much possible to get these overtakes sorted. But where is he going to be trying to... Well, okay, never mind. He's already trying to make one up the inside of left field. Fair play, Oliver.
And talking of Murray Walker, I'm going for first, says Oliver Sequeira as he makes his way into P4. Nice little move there. Back up the inside for Beast. That's brave, that's bold, but a little bit silly, I think. And in the end, yeah, drifting out wide, probably picking up a warning for his troubles. And he will slip back into the clutches of Rapid Go for TV. He's ahead of Rapid OG and Shane, and even though those guys started all together at the back, they still found each other on track in 6th, 7th, and in 8th. We're more than halfway through this race, the final PRL Tier 2 race of the season and of the game. You know, we're playing for pride, aren't we, really? It's a bit like the final day of the championship season. It's Bristol City against Swansea. Both teams have finished mid-table. There's nothing to fight for, but there's the pride in the victory, isn't there?
Absolutely. You might as well go for it. Perhaps that's the reason why we're seeing drivers take some more bold overtakes, try and do stuff a little bit crazy. Again, they're not really going to gain too much out of it. It's you guys watching at home which will be able to gain the massive rewards from these brave overtaking opportunities. Putting the car in places it probably shouldn't be, because at the end of the day, it does create an exciting and a very interactive environment where you guys can go join the Discord, ask questions to the drivers. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? How come you sort of thought about this strategy? How come you didn't do something that Halo did? There's so many different sort of ways you can go about it and get yourself involved here at PRL.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
I've just been finishing my bag of roast chicken and time sensations there, and you caught me short. But yeah, definitely get yourself involved, get yourself into the server. Fantastic league, fantastically run. Full credit to particularly PRL Owen, who is stealing this ship with absolute ease, with the valor of Nelson here. It's an absolutely fantastic job he's done, and also credit to the likes of Shane. Thanks to him as well for giving us a lot of the stats that we've been able to use so far this season, and for integrating us into the league so well. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be on commentary for PRL in season 12. But it's not done yet. We've still got just over 11 laps to go, and this is by no means done. Beast, Gopher, Rapid OG, they are all in a line. Rapid Gopher, though, looking for P5. Inside line down into Stowe. Thank you very much, and good night, he will say. And Rapid OG looking to follow through. Nearly a little bit of contact between two, Constructors' Championship rivals. But in the end, Rapid OG not quite through yet, but he might try and do the dummy and maybe make a move into Village.
Perhaps, then again, does he want to risk it, and how much does Beast going to defend this? Because, of course, his teammate is right on the heels of these. Shane is looking to try and catch up at a rapid rate of knots, 1.5 seconds back currently. But these guys, they're going to have to consider, they're going to have to remember that our drivers on a quicker, fresher compound of tyre, the likes of Pulaski, Alberto Maracuccia, Vintage, Patty Pat, all of them still sitting behind there, looking to try and catch up a little bit as Beast, to the looks fair, let Rapid OG go.
Yeah, I'm going to start this sentence again. So I think he realised that he wasn't going to be able to fight there, and so just let him through. I think these sensations are getting to me. If I'm honest, I might have to stop. But we've got 10.5 laps to go. Looking good for Halo. Craigy's Crazy I Do It. Oliver Sequeira, though, right on the back of Crazy I Do It for P3 on track. And that's forgetting that there's still some strategy that might come into play in this race. Maybe a pit stop in a couple of laps' time for the top guys, and Oliver Sequeira will be sitting pretty if they do.
Absolutely.
But I'm not saying we're at this stage of the race where the strategies are kind of overlapping. We don't know which way drivers are going to go. We don't know if it's going to dry up. So kind of a bit of a holding pattern until we can really say this is what the situation of the race is going to the end.
Yeah, but one thing we can say with almost full confidence, Oliver Sequeira keeping and maintaining that 3-second gap to Rapid Gopher. It's exactly what he needs to do. But only worry I have for Oliver's race pace here, if he gets caught up behind Crazy I Do It for any longer, we know Rapid Gopher's pace is phenomenal. We know he's going to catch up eventually, regardless of how old his tyres are. So it's imperative for Oliver Sequeira to be able to try and send a move somewhere on Crazy to try and get himself a little bit more cleaner so he can start chasing down Craggies and Halo. That's what he needs to do. He can't afford to wait too much longer behind the Williams car.
No, he needs to get through pretty sharpish, and he'll be looking to do it right about now, but not going to be able to do it down into Brooklands and Luffield. They're only 2 seconds off the back of Craggies as well here, so Oliver Sequeira could tick off a couple of names in pretty quick succession right now. Don't count out a driver like Lateral Zoom, though. Penalty-free, same strategy. Oh, no, sorry, it's not the same strategy as Oliver Sequeira. I'm getting ahead of myself. Alberto Maracucho on the same strategy as Oliver Sequeira. Even though he's down in P10, if you look at the menu up there, there's lots of cars pretty close together. So, you know, a few moves in the next couple of laps and he'll be right up into contention. And Venezuela's going to be absolutely going mental with the good positions that we're seeing their drivers in. Good exit looking like here for Oliver Sequeira down towards Stoke. Can he capitalise on it? Can he use a bit of that ERS to make his way up into the podium spots? I'm not sure he's going to be close enough, but he's going to give it a good old go, and in the end, just sorting in behind.
Yes, he's just having to wait for that opportunity to present itself slightly better. Perhaps heading down into the Vale chicane. He's not close enough this time. He's having to back off, having to wait yet another lap. Meanwhile, while all this stalling is happening behind, we are seeing a couple drivers dive into the pits. Rapid Gopher, Craggies, both in the pit lane. Are we going to see Halo and I Do It in a matter of laps diving into the pit lane as well?
I think so, yes, because Craggies they're clearly going for the two-stop strategy back onto one of the intermediate tyres. Oliver Sequeira clearly doing the one-stop. The question is he going to be able to hold off the rest for long enough? That's really the key question. Can he have enough pace, at least to put himself onto the podium? Halo's lack of penalty is going to help him out come the end. If it stays like this, Oliver Sequeira and Collateral Zoom and... sorry, not Collateral Zoom, I keep getting that confused. Alberto Maracucho and really Patty Pat are in a good position here. If they can hold off the rest of the guys who have come into the pit lane, it's going to be hard work, but maybe a possibility. And with, 8 laps to go at the end of this one of the season, quite an open race.
Absolutely. It's all to go for these drivers. I mean, you look at the likes here of Alberto Maracucho. Mythbusters not necessarily being able to hold onto that position as comfortably as he would like, having to dump the battery to try and catch back up to Alberto, but you could just see that tyre differential. It's only 3 laps, but it feels absolutely huge between the drivers at this moment in time. You can only imagine what Craggies is feeling. Currently in P13, 1 second further up the road, Don Moore on 9-lap-old intermediate tyres. You could just see the pace difference getting absolutely torn away by the corner. Heading through Cops, almost 3.5 temps being caught up now. 5 temps halfway through Maggots and Beckett's, and now heading into Chapel. You can assume he's going to get a fantastic run here, and he's going to try and slingshot himself. As Crazy I Do It does go overtake Oliver Sequeira, dives it into the pits there as well. But this is the driver he's going to be in mind for. Craggies, Rapid Gopher. They've got the undercut. They've got track position on those who are making the two-stop strategy work. How much further can they try and battle to climb up? And will any of these drivers try and do a bit of a solid? As we've got a little love tap between Craggies and Don Moore. Don Moore, I feel like he's just decided to drift it wide there and rejoin the track safely behind Craggies. But you never know with stewards, do you? Might have seen that, might have thought, hey, potential for a penalty? Think so. We're still going to apply it.
Yeah, hey now, not a rockstar move there from Craggies, but... Don Moore, the closing speed was massive. I think because of the tyre difference, the pace difference that Craggy's had over Don Moore, you can already see he's gapped him by nearly 2 seconds already, and that'll just keep increasing. But as these guys come out of the pit lane, the likes of Crazy I Do It, RL Beast, as they're coming round Luffield, the Aintree in the loop, Oliver Sequeira is going through Cops. coming into Magnus and Beckett. Of course, SSR Halo also not yet pitting. Maybe thinking, well, I don't really need to pit. I could get to the end. It just depends whether his tyres will actually last that long physically. But we also might see him in at the end of this lap. Does he peel it in to that pit lane for a second time in this race? I believe he will. And no, he won't. He'll carry on. So maybe he's going to the end here because there's only going to be 7 laps after this.
I mean, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to encourage the puns anymore. But I'm a believer. Oliver Sequeira. I don't know. I feel something. I'm not sure what it is. It might be overconfidence in a driver I'm feeling. But I did say earlier, podium at the very least. Race win? Looking more and more unlikely. Halo's been able to keep the delta, being able to manage his pace very well, very effectively up towards the front, and full kudos to that, as we are seeing so many different battles break out at this point. Different drivers, different tyre strategies, all of them looking to try and gain any sort of advantage they can on the rest of the field. This is what racing's all about. No DRS.
It's what we love to see.
None of that. Just absolutely go for it, boys. Fresh set of tyres, have a bit of fun, try and make overtakes work. It's brilliant. It really is.
This is my favourite kind of race, where everyone's on the same tyre, obviously in the intermediate conditions, but you've got you've got a group of drivers who are on 1 lap old tyres, and they're behind a 3, 2, 2, 7, 8, 7, 10, 7, 11. So in front you've got, what's that, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 different pit laps, 6 different ages of tyres. There's no conformity in the strategy. It is an absolute mess. Everyone's got different kind of advantages over everybody else. It's exactly what we want to see for a season finale, because it could go either way at this point. SSR Halo's tyres likely to drop off a cliff if he doesn't go into the pit lane. Thinks that, I mean, realistically, he's got a 12-second advantage, 13 really. Why would you come into the pit lane, especially if you're only going to lose about half a second a lap? But that can increase exponentially if those tyres hit a cliff, because Oliver Sequeiras won't do that, you wouldn't say. With Halo going, 8 laps on the first stint, looking to go 18 on the second, he'd be lucky man to do that. But it's possible, it's on, and he's got 6 laps to try and hold it on here.
Absolutely, and you know, this very much ties into the good old Lewis Hamilton days in the Mercedes car. Can you remember when they started announcing that fastest lap point, and everyone thought, well, Lewis is winning races by 20 seconds. He's just going to dive it in the pits anyway. But the majority of the time, they decided to not try and pit him because it risked getting a penalty for speeding into the pit lane. It risked an error in the pit stop as well. Maybe that's the route Halo's taking. He feels confident enough. He knows he's going to be slower. But with so much of a big delta between himself and Oliver, with the penalty applied to Oliver, it might not be worth taking that risk. As long as he's able to nurture the tyres, as long as he's able to caress them back home, he should be able to pull something off here. Now, whether it's going to be a race win or just a podium, that's very much up in the air, as we do see Don Moore retiring into the pit lane. So no safety car being brought out there, but Alfredo will be very grateful to jump up there into 16th place.
He will be, and not ideal for the Alfa Romeo Constructors' Championship, but realistically they're going to lose that to Ferrari regardless. They maybe just have to look over their shoulder at Haas a touch, because Haas go into this race 11 points behind Alfa Romeo, and looking to overturn that.
Hey, Pat.
Did you see? That was close, wasn't it?
That was very
Frankie's
close.
3 seconds, just bouncing himself over the curb. Here comes Rapid Gopher, though, around the outside of Chapel. This would be a brave and bold move. He's going to get a good exit out of the corner towards Stowe, and I think he might be able to pick off the McLaren here.
Yeah, I'm potentially trying to pick off Patty Pat here as well, but we saw Patty Pat with the defensive line. He's gone for it once again. Patty Pat staying strong to his guts, knowing exactly what he's capable of doing. Staying on that defensive line, causing a little bit of pain to Craggies and Rapid Gopher behind. But I'm sure Paddy Pat won't mind causing a little bit of extra carnage here during this race, considering so much has already happened.
You're absolutely right with that. I mean, still looking at this timing tower, I've looked again at the gap for the lead, and that was 9.6 the last time I looked at it. It's now down by 3 seconds to 6.4, and it is coming down fast. 6.3 through Luffield. You'd expect a good exit there from Oliver Sequeira. 6.3, 6.1. You know, it is looking nervy. If you're SSR Halo, you've still got 5 laps to, well, 4.5 laps to go here, and if you're gaining at 3 seconds a lap, Oliver Sequeira is going to fly past and make the time for his penalty. Alberto Maracuccio, another name. Patty Pat is holding off Craggies. And then they've got to get another 10 seconds to get to the back of Alberto Maracucci. Vintage AR5 as well in the battle for the podium. I mean, there's lots of drivers that you wouldn't necessarily say were in with a shout for a podium at the start of this race that all of a sudden look like they might be standing on the roster.
And I feel like they've only got one man to thank for this. And it will be Patty Pat. What a defense he's putting up. He's causing a little bit of drama for Craggies and Rapid Gopher. They might have thought, 2-stop, it's fine, we'll breeze past people. Patty Pat had other ideas. He doesn't mind taking a defensive line. He doesn't mind sacrificing a little bit of his own race here to have some brilliant racing action. You see him there pulling all the way over to the left-hand side, giving Gopher a little bit of needed slipstream. Just once again putting Craggies on my backhand so Craggies isn't able to go and be offensive on Patty Pat. And I'm very sure next time round he'll be offering Craggies a little bit of slipstream. Great little bit of manipulation there from Patty Pat, doing exactly what he needs to do to try and hold on to the 6th place. He's dictating the way the guys behind are racing to a fantastic degree.
Yeah, I turned into Ollie Murs there because my heart skipped a beat as they made their way through. Oh, my word!
We've got a troublemaker. I had to, I'm sorry.
That was great. Collateral Zoom having a massive moment. I don't know whether Alberto Maracucci has damage, but I mean there's no visible damage. But I would not be surprised if you've got a lime green front wing there, and in these wet conditions, that can feel so painful. Regardless, Maracucci's ahead. Vintage AR5 is in here as well. These two nowhere near the leading duo as Oliver Sequeira gets ever closer to SSR Halo. But, I mean, we are still seeing some drama in this race. Behind us will Rapid Gopher and Patty Pat. They're swapping positions. Craggy's in here as well. Craggy's round the outside of Patty Pat. Can he make that one stick at Luffield? What a brave move. What a move from Craggy's. But it's not done yet because Patty Pat is still fighting in there. Inside line for Cops. He'll have the move done again. There's some great battling going on down here on the back end of the top 10.
Absolutely. It looks to be that Rapid Gopher has that move wrapped up, but Craggy's once again just slowly starting to realise now how much of a thorn in the backside Patty Pat can really be. Halo into the pits. He realised, perhaps running onto the verge of a potential puncher. Right time, right place for Oliver Sequeira, surely.
Right, now, so Halo did 15 laps. Oliver Sequeira only needs to do 14 laps. Oliver Sequeira leads by about 15 seconds at least here. This is such a good opportunity. It's 13.5. But the age of ties is the same, if not worse. He's only really got to worry about SSR Halo here, maybe Rapid Gopher, but they're a pit stop behind. This is a great spot for Oliver Sequeira to be in. With 3 laps to go, we could see, I think, 3 podium sitters in this race we've not seen all season. Patty Pat and Craggy's contact. Through goes Halo. He's done the both of them.
Oh!
Oh my word.
I'm not too sure what on earth happened there.
That's Alfredo's car.
Oh dear.
It's heated up, isn't it? That's for sure.
Yeah. AI car deciding I'm going to park on the racing line. Once again, another feature hopefully fixed for F124. Cody's, please don't let me down.
Halo had those guys wrapped up around his finger.
Honestly.
I'm sorry. I'm ticking that one off my list.
It might be the best night of his life. Let's say that much. There you go. That's enough one for me.
Right, 2 laps to go with the season, and Oliver Sequeira, he leads. You know what would be the funniest thing in the world as well, Josh? Oliver Sequeira wins and then doesn't do an interview with us.
No. Don't say that to me. That'd be a hard to swallow result. Please no.
It would break your heart, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Back to tier 1. Right, a lap and a half. Oliver Sequeira. All Oliver Sequeira needs to do is not make a big mistake, not spin the car, not drop the rear end, keep it within the white lines, don't pick up a penalty, and he's going to cruise home. He has played this strategy to perfection. The one stop was the way to go. I mean, only Alberto Maracucci and Vintage have done the one stop with him. I mean, you could argue Patty Pat as well with the spin, but it's not really going to work out well. No points for him in the end. But what a strategy. What a race has been for Oliver Sequeira. And we've always said he's always thereabouts with the strategy, but he's never able to convert it. Final race of the season, final race on the game. It looks like he's done it absolutely to perfection.
Absolutely high hopes, but of course 2 laps left to go. It could still be a boulevard of broken dreams here for Oliver Sequeira if things don't play out the exact way he would want to. Having to navigate through Maggots Beckett's before approaching back onto the hanger straight. Surely he's counting down the corners at this moment in time. Surely he's not feeling too stressed at the minute.
If I'm honest, I'd be stressed if I was Oliver Sequeira, because if I was in a battle, I think I'd be less stressed. The fact that this is such a comfortable race to the end for him, 13 seconds. I don't think he'd ever think he'd be in this position, if we're being honest with ourselves. I mean, it's such a lead, it's such a great advantage that he's built up just by playing the right strategy. And full credit to him, because, you know, like we've said, 2 fourths this season. He's always finished a couple of 11ths, but almost invariably in the points. To reward yourself at the end of the season with a win, he's going to be loving life.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you could feel my heart at this moment in time, it is beating at a rapid rate of knots. But I ain't worried. I'm not worried for him. I feel like he's got this one in the bag. Something which I don't necessarily feel like is going to be too much in the bag until we end up hitting up towards Stowe for the very final time, will be this battle for P2. Maracuja, Gopher and Vintage all so close to one another. Maracuja slowly starting to pull it out just a little bit more, but in the end, do I really want to know what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't want it to stop.
I'm just going to ask this as a formality. Who's your driver of the day?
The GOAT, Oliver Sequeira. I told you, I knew he had something, he chefed something up. And it was a perfectly well done steak with a side of chips. Absolutely brilliant stuff for Oliver Sequeira. Rapid go for getting the move sorted on Alberto Maracuja as well. Heading through Maggots and Beckett's. Very brave, very bold. But for me, one driver was able to nail the strategy. One driver was able to make the laps count where he needed it most. And that is the Red Bull driver of Oliver Sequeira. For me, driver of the day.
Everyone's picked for driver of the day, if we're being honest with ourselves. He's come to the Rail Chicane. He has done so many races this season. He's been there or thereabouts. But it's the final race where he wins in absolute style. Oliver Sequeira, he cruises home for the win here in PRL to end off Division 2 Season 12. Rapid Gopher, he came second in the championship. He'll finish second on the road. Running out of fuel at the end, I think. He'll drop back to P4 with Alberto Maracuja and Vintage AR putting up an incredible podium, I think it's fair to say, to close out the season. Halo, Crazy I Do It, and Rapid OG finishing in P7. We've got Craggies picking up points at the end of the season in a Mythbusters night, I should say. And PRL Shane with RRLB, our Constructors Champions in PRL Season 12. They only got the 1 point in the race, but that was all they needed to do. Alfa Romeo only scoring 6. Haas only scoring, well, I say only scoring, they scored 14 in the end, but it's nowhere near enough. Gladstone Zuma will come across the line for P14, and then we'll just find Monster crawling home for P15. But Josh, Oliver Sequeira, it's been a long time coming, and finally, in our last race of the season, he's done it for the win.
Yes, it's happened. Finally. I'll be able to die happy. I knew it was going to come someday. I had a feeling a podium was the day. But instead of being rewarded with a little bit of faith, he's been able to step up towards that top step of the podium, pick himself up a win. And well, he's never really looked back, has he? A Venezuelan 1-2 here at PRL. Fantastic stuff from the duo. But I suppose there's only one way to round out the season here. Darragh, do you want to run us through the final order here for Silverstone?
I will gladly do that. I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of the results as well so I can tot up the points for all of the drivers. But it is Oliver Sequeira, who is our Division 2 final race winner of this season. I need to do that again because it didn't quite show me, but I'll actually just note it down. Oliver Sequeira wins the race, followed by Alberto Maracuja in, I think, a surprise Venezuelan 1-2. Vintage AR5 using his experience from yesterday in Div 1 to take home P3 in a podium with Rapid Gopher just finishing off of the podium. SSR Halo picks up P5, as it was Crazy I Do It in 6th, picking up some nice points at the end of his season. Rapid OG, our champion, didn't need too much, finished in 7th. Craggies, after starting on pole, what could have been for him, comes home in 8th, still some points on his board. Mythbusters 9th for the Haas team, and PRL Shane picking up the final points of the season. Beast, Pelosi, Patty Pat and Monster finished the race, but with no points, along with Collateral Zoom. But then we had 5 non-finishers: Alfredo, Don War, Just Komi-san, CJQ, and Jar Jar not quite seeing a flag. I am going to try to tot up all the points. If you can just go back to the top very quickly,
Yes.
Josh, of the results, just so that I can write down exactly how many points all the teams got. Rebel picked up 40 in that race, so full credit to them. And it was also 26 for Williams. So good days for those two teams. Maybe not as good for everybody else. Haas picking up 14 points. I actually think they've run it very close to Alfa Romeo. We've got Alpha Tauri picking up 10 points at the end. They weren't quite able to spring a surprise on Haas. And then it was Alfa Romeo picking up 6 on the final day of the season. McLaren pick up 4. 2 more for Haas, and then the 1 for Ferrari to consolidate their championship. Aston Martin, Mercedes and Alpine, the bottom 3 teams in the championship, and you can see why, because none of them scored today. But, as I've got all the points down, thank you very much, Josh, for showing me that, I'm going to have a quick peek, and my heart is breaking. I'm going to ask Oliver Squarer, would you like an interview?
No.
He's not currently sat in that interview channel.
No. Please, Oliver, please, I'm begging you. Don't even need to speak in it. Just show us your presence. Honestly, the prophecy's been fulfilled. You've won the race. You've done the job. You've done exactly what you needed to do. When I'm asked how did it end, simply, it's the best way possible. It's a love story between Oliver Squarer and finally getting on a podium, let alone a race win. It has been fantastic.
Yes, now, I am, either way, whether he's there or not, you're going to have to keep an eye on the channel, because I'm going to toss up the points. I am going to toss up everybody's points for this season, so that we can give you a full rundown of the season results before we go for the season, because I think that's only right. Shane picked up a final point. I think he's going to consolidate 3rd in his championship. But we've had such a blast, haven't we?
Yes.
All the way across the season. And there's been so many great races. I can't really pick out a few great, the top moments, because even back to things like Imola, Spain, we had those dramatic late race changes. It's just been a great season all round.
Yeah, it's been utterly fantastic here and here too. Every single week, the drivers always showing up, giving it their all, regardless of somewhat the difficulties they may find, whether it's with the game, whether it's with the certain tracks they weren't a big fan of. They still showed up through thick and thin, and quite often, when it has been a track they've not really been too confident with, they've certainly found, a fantastic opportunity to be able to at least bring home a couple extra points. And, well, dare I say, it's been absolutely fantastic all season long. But we are having a little look here to try and get Oliver Square in towards getting an interview. So hopefully he'll be able to join the channel. But in the meantime, favourite moment out of this entire season. To be quite honest, it might have to be that Jeddah race you missed, Darragh. It was fantastic. It was all action.
Was it like I wasn't there? Is that what it was?
No. What do you mean, Darragh? You're fantastic. Guys, help. But no, Jeddah, it was a fantastic race. It was all drivers giving it their all every single lap. A little bit of carnage, a little bit of contact. It was something to behold throughout the entire race. It wasn't just, set a couple of moments. It was utterly fantastic. As we are getting other drivers cheering for Oliver Squarer being able to bring home that race win, encouraging him to somewhat try and take on towards a podium interview. But I'm still not quite seeing him just yet.
No, I'm just going to hold you on for a minute, because Oliver Squarer shooting up the points, obviously. I think he scored more than a third of his points this evening alone this season, despite being so consistent. So congratulations to him. Overall, even with Tier 1, it's always felt like a great community spirit between a lot of these guys. It's always felt like it's a tight-knit group of drivers, everyone talking to... after the race, we've had the interviews, haven't we, with OG, Shane,
yes,
and Gopher. They've all been chatting to each other, and it's just been lovely to be a part of.
Most of the time as well, we don't even need to somewhat interact with the, questions for the interviews. They're already sharing what their entire thought ideas behind the entire race were. They're already sharing that with one another, and it really just goes to show how well connected this entire community is. But Darragh, the moment we've waited for, Oliver Sequeira is in the podium interview room. It's only fair we join him.
Let's go. Let's run.
It's happened. The GOAT has finally got himself on the podium. Not only a third, not a second, but he's gone and won the final race on F123 here in Tier 2. Oliver Sequeira, congratulations. Not a man of many words. Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
It's brilliant to hear your voice, mate. I mean, talk us through that race. The strategy, the weather conditions, the accidents behind you. Any moment did you sit there and feel like, okay, I've 100% got this wrapped up, or were you kept on your toes until the very end?
I saw Craigie beats getting pits in laps 7, 8, and I thought that I make one stop and see what happened.
And can you just say it one more time? Oliver Sequeira, what did you do? You won.
You asking where he finished?
Yes. You won the race.
Where did you... Yes. It's made us... I don't know if you know, Oliver, how much secretly myself and Josh have been cheering you on this season, because you've always been there or thereabouts for a podium, and it's just never quite happened. At least 3 fourth places for you. And it's been a season of close misses, but final race that we're doing commentary on, the 20th one that we've done, and I think it's fair to say we are delighted you winning the race, and full credit because you've had a fantastic season. Are you looking forward to season 13 on the new game?
Oh yeah, I bought the game already.
Right, so someone's getting early access to get a couple extra hours in for practice. But once again, Oliver, I mean, clearly not. He's already picked up a race win. He's just got to carry the momentum through to next year. Easier said than done. But when it comes to yourself, Oliver, do you feel like you're able to carry the momentum?
No, I don't know. I in this race, I have the pace and the strategy worked for me. I took the win.
Full credit to you. Congratulations. We are so pleased to see you on the top step of the podium. A lot of hard work this season, finally rewarded with a win. And congratulations. And hopefully it's the first of many, and we'll be able to speak to you again in the future. But Josh, I think that perfectly wraps up the season. With Tier 1, with Tier 2, we've had some great title battles. We've had some great, championships. We've had some great racing, good races all the way through the season. And I don't think there's any better way to end it off in Season 12 than with an Oliver Sequeira win.
Absolutely not. I mean, as far as everything's gone in PRL, everything's been smooth sailing. It's been absolutely fantastic from start to finish. Once again, cannot thank you guys enough in the community. It's been so welcome, so warming. And overall, it's just been a pleasure to be here.
Yes. And we do heavily thank... Oh, before we go, Josh...
Oh, hello?
Someone else joined it's Alberto Maracucho. It's our P2 man, Alberto. Before we were just about to sign off. A great race from you. Are you proud of that podium? Because you've really come good at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really proud of it. I thought I wasn't gonna make it, but we did.
But you did. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
When it came clutch, you pulled through. And I do believe this is the first ever Venezuelan 1-2 I've ever commentated on. So congratulations, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we're really happy about it, especially the last race of this season. So.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's only fitting. Would you guys mind signing us off in the native language of Venezuela?
You can... Yeah, no, you want me to say it like that?
Absolutely, go for it.
Ya, bueno, de verdad que muy agradecidos con todo el equipo de PLR, muy contentos con este podio, especialmente el 1-2 de Oliver y yo, y a seguir empujando. Keep pushing.
Absolutely. And as far as things go for us, Darragh, we'll keep pushing behind the scenes to try and make sure Season 13 is even better than this season. But as far as things go, this might be the end of the road for Season 12. This might be the end of the road for us here for now.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for all the support. And, I know this is not easy to keep it on. So let's keep working. If I can help you guys, we'll be here.
Oh, we'd love that going towards Season 13. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you, Oliver, as well, for joining. It's great to speak to you guys, and congratulations on your 1-2 at the end of the season. There's only a few people left to thank, isn't there, Josh, at the end of the season? Thanks to Owen, of course, as we mentioned, keeping the ship very much afloat, doing an absolutely excellent job. Thanks to all the admins and all the other staff in the server, the likes of Shane, who's helped us out all the way through the season. From myself, thanks to you, Josh, being a great person to do commentary with all the way through the season. It's been a pleasure to be alongside you. And we can only hope that we'll be allowed back next season to commentate over some more fantastic racing. But from us here in the JPB commentary box, myself, Darragh, Thacker, Josh Griffin, Meek alongside me, we've had an absolute blast of a season in Season 12. We'll be back for Season 13. We hope it definitely will happen in PRL. So keep an eye out on all the socials for that. But until the next game, we hope you enjoy your next month or so before we come back, and we will see you when PRL returns for Season 13.
Oh, don't threaten me with a good time.